These cheap fragrances are almost like a cheat code, and they really prove that you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars per bottle to get a product that is great quality, that smells great, and that just works well and gets the job done. Whether you're on a budget, you're looking to save some money and get some really good products, or you're not really on a budget, but you like to spend your money wisely and you want to pick up a few more affordable fragrances to wear more so kind of on a daily rotation basis and maybe kind of save some money that way instead of wearing some more of your expensive stuff, these are going to be some great ones to look into. As always, a nice variety, a little bit of spring, summer, but also some fall and winter in here as well. So no matter where you're at, what season you're in, and just what your preferences are, you'll find something that you like. And the big question is, what is considered cheap? For this video, really, it's $50 or less. That's just kind of where cheap is at this point, but I will say that most of these are quite a bit under 50. Some of these 20, 25, 30, 35 even. So really affordable. This first one that we're going to start off with, I believe, is going to be somewhere around maybe that $35 range. Trussardi Riflesso. This one has apple, tonka bean, leather. It smells wonderful. Been around for a long time, so this is nothing new, nothing trendy or anything like that, but it's always been pretty affordable, and again, like I just said, never been something that's been overly popular or hyped up. You know, when you think of a cheap fragrance, you might think of like a Nautica Voyage or something, which everybody knows about. That one's not in here, a great option, but this is a lot more under the radar than that and would be a great way to stand out. What does it remind me of in particular? Well, almost like a little bit of a YSL L'Homme because of that apple ginger combination that this one has. It has this gentleman, classy, this kind of sophisticated type of smell. To double down on the fact that it is a gentleman scent, it is mature smelling without being old man smelling either. Now, there's a bit of a spiciness, which might even kind of remind you a bit of a La Nuit de l'Homme type of spiciness here. So it kind of just has a little bit of a kind of an all-inclusive type of smell as far as taking bits and pieces from a few popular things that you've smelled, and then with its own little twist. There's just a nice, fresh kind of lavender, slight soapiness to it as well. So you just have something that is combining the best of both worlds. A little bit fresh, but also a little bit sweet and spicy and kind of mysterious too. As far as when you could wear this one, really just about any time. Now, I think it's going to be best probably for fall and spring, and then probably some parts of winter when it's not completely, frozen solid outside. This might not quite have what it takes to hold up in that environment, but when the weather's mild, not too hot, but not too cold, it'd be a perfect time to wear this one. At this price point that it comes in at, it is such a phenomenal purchase. This next one is Afnan Turathi Brown. This is a clone of YSL Tuxedo, a beautiful patchouli and spice-based scent. Tuxedo is, this one is too, by comparison, of course, but the main problem with Tuxedo is obviously the price point, part of the exclusive lineup. It's, I don't know, north of $250 retail. This comes in at somewhere around $40, and maybe sometimes a bit less, depending on where you're shopping. For whatever reason, and I've said this before, but there are tons of YSL Tuxedo clones. And it's weird because when you compare YSL Tuxedo to something else like a Creed Aventus or Baccarat Rouge 540 or, any other popular niche fragrance or expensive scent, Tuxedo was never really quite as popular. Yes, it did go through a phase where it did have some hype going, but nowhere near the level of a lot of other scents out there. But for whatever reason, it is cloned so much. Not cloned more than Aventus, that one takes the cake, but man, it feels like it can't be too far off. There's a ton to choose from. So you don't have to choose Turathi Brown, you could choose any of them. I just kind of typically prefer this one. It's a little bit more expensive than something like, Alhambra, the Tux, or Fragrance World Suits or whatever, but I do find the quality to be just a little bit better and just the scent to be a little bit more polished. Although again, most all of them will get the job done and be very accurate. If you want a nice, spicy, patchouli-based scent for fall, check out Turathi Brown, and fall is the time to wear this one. This smells like autumn to me. You could wear it other times of the year, but I exclusively only touch this stuff and anything similar to it in the season of fall, just because I like to keep those memories of this scent based around that time. There's just something about it that just reminds me of that time of year. Okay, we're gonna go over to a summer scent next. Doesn't really apply to a lot of us, but some of you guys down under are really starting to warm up down there. It's Choo Man Ice. If you want a Dior Homme cologne alternative, this is gonna be one to look into, coming in at around like $30 or so. Obviously, Dior Homme cologne is always gonna be somewhere around 100. Sometimes you can get testers for a decent price and maybe get just a touch under 100, but most of the time you're paying up for it. And a lot of people have issues with the performance of that one in comparison to the price, which, yeah, you know, that's a bit of a hard thing to defend because it doesn't really perform all that great. It's not completely weak on my skin, but, you know, when you can get something that is a fraction of the price that actually might perform a little bit better, still is not a beast mode scent, but better, why not go for it? This is not going to take place of my Dior Homme cologne, you know, bottles, because there are still differences. A Dior Homme cologne is still brighter and fresher. This Jimmy Choo in particular, it has just a little bit more of a woodiness in the dry down, a little bit of patchouli kind of coming through, some cedar wood as well. Now, not too strong, but prominent enough to pick up on, and it does have just a bit of a heavier feel, whereas Dior Homme cologne is just going to be much brighter and fresher all the way through. Again, if you want something that's affordable for summertime that smells like something a lot more expensive, check out Choo Man Ice. This next one is Lacoste Eau Fraiche. I put a pretty good dent in this bottle. I wasn't really expecting to like the smell of it all that much, and I've also used this one as room spray quite a few times, which people are going to say, oh, that's wasteful, you're just spraying it up in the air. Well, you know, I am probably not going to ever finish this bottle anyway, so I might as well use it to some capacity. This one has grapefruit, lemon, ginger, apple. It smells great. We'll use it as a room spray again right now. It's been a little while since I've smelled it, but it's really, really vibrant, really juicy, very fresh and punchy off the opening. Way better than I thought. That apple type of smell has a little bit of a Nautica Voyage type of apple, and then it just goes into something that's nice and fresh, bright, clean, a little bit soapy, not a lot though. This is very, very appealing and definitely stays true to kind of the Lacoste brand and image, which when I think of Lacoste fragrances, a lot of times I do think of something that is just crisp, bright, fresh, and clean, just like their great t-shirts, you know, they're really on par, and this one is no exception here. I really, really enjoy it, and it's pretty affordable on discounters. You're not breaking the bank for this one, and it's something that you cannot go wrong with. You really can't mess it up. It's going to be more suitable for the warmer weather when the sun's out. That's when I think this one is going to smell the best. That heat really helps this activate, but you could wear it really anytime. This next one is Coach Platinum. I've talked about this one for years, well, ever since it first came out, whenever that was, and it's always been one that I've enjoyed, mainly because, at least the way I look at it, and the easiest way to describe it is Sauvage with vanilla. Okay, so the original Coach has that Sauvage smell. This is a flanker of the original Coach, so you get some of that Sauvage smell kind of inherited into the Platinum version, but then some vanilla and some cashmere start to come through as well, and even a bit of leather, okay? So it's that Sauvage smell with a bit of a sweetness, and I really like it. It even has some pineapple in here off the opening too, which is a nice twist, and no, that doesn't mean that it smells like Aventus, not even close. Just had to throw that out there because there's always that correlation when people see pineapple. Definitely does smell like a sweet Sauvage, and I love it because there really isn't anything else that does this type of thing, and believe it or not, that kind of vanilla introduction into this Sauvage DNA works really well, and it makes the scent a lot more interesting and appealing. I don't think I mentioned the price point, but this is usually, I don't know, like $40 or so. Very, very reasonable. I know I mentioned Aventus a little bit ago, so we'll throw in a clone. It's Explorer by Montblanc. Usually around $45 to $50 for this one, kind of at the upper end of our price range. There are, I guess, more affordable options if you want to go for an Arm Off Club de Nuit Intense Man. You're not going to be getting really any of the parfums for a whole lot cheaper than this, but the EDT, maybe the EDP, you could get for less. There's so many directions you could go. Some people don't like those because they're not designer brands, okay? And this is a Montblanc. It has more of a designer looking bottle. It's a name brand, and people are going to choose this over the Armafs for that reason. Some, not all. Not everybody cares, but again, there's so many ways you can go with it. Being the most cloned fragrance ever, Aventus, you could imagine that you could basically just take your favorite Aventus clone and put it into this video as long as it's affordable, which there are some that aren't. There's nothing wrong with Montblanc Explorer. It doesn't quite have some of the vibrance as like a Club de Nuit Parfum. You know, like I really like the limited edition Parfum version. I think the quality and the blend on that's amazing. But again, you know, you could take your pick here. This one is easy because you can get it in stores. You can sample it and try it in person. You can buy it in stores, obviously, at full retail. It's just overall more accessible to the average guy versus you're not going to go into any store and find an Armaf on display. So that's what's nice about something like this. It's just easy to access. And so if you want to get into that Aventus smelling DNA, it's easier to do so. And you could probably just, you know, find free samples of this if you go in and ask them. You know, I'm sure they'd give you a free sample or you know, you can just spray it on there or whatever. Many ways to get your nose on this stuff. You guys know I love John Varvatos, and Artisan Pure is a favorite of mine for many reasons. The main one being it smells like the outdoors, more specifically like the greenery. You know, like you're hanging out in a garden on a nice spring day. It's nice and crisp outside. It's not hot and sweltering and you're miserable. It's just a nice spring day. That is what this smells like. A bunch of petitgrain, neroli, orange, citrus. Oh, it just smells so good, so uplifting, so bright, and just carefree. You know, this is just like, you smell this and it takes you to a place where you just don't have to worry about anything. And over the years, man, the price has dropped on this so much. It used to not be cheap. Even on discounters, it was 60 bucks when it was kind of really pretty popular and in demand. Now, testers without a cap sometimes are floating around for less than 30 bucks, you know, $28, $29. You can throw in a few extra bucks at this point probably and get full presentation with cap. You shouldn't be paying any more than $40 for a full presentation bottle. A lot of times it's just going to be somewhere around in that mid-30 range. Very, very reasonable for what you get, which is just a high quality, unique spring scent. And we're going to finish this video off with a winter scent. It is Halloween Man X, winter and fall, I guess. Can go either way with it. This one has tonka, cardamom, whiskey, and vanilla. And I forgot to mention the most important one to me, coffee. Coffee is in here with those other notes as well. It smells amazing. Sweet, powdery, creamy, smooth. I think you're looking at, I don't know, under $40 for this one, usually right around, sometimes a bit less than that. So very, very reasonable. It is a 125 ml bottle, so a little bit more bang for your buck. Same with Artisan Pure. That one also is 125 milliliters, so factor that into your price point too. I mean, you're getting, you know, a quarter more than a lot of these others for typically sometimes the same price or less. And that extra 25 milliliters, that kind of goes a long way. You know, it definitely is something to consider when you're doing your price point calculations, especially now because, you know, a lot of the standard sizes for these new elixirs and stuff are 60 ml and 50 ml, and they're still charging so much more. So I think my my prediction is that 125 ml bottles and stuff are just going to be obsolete at some point, and I think probably the 200 mls aren't too far off. I think our main options are going to be 50, and maybe you could get up to a 100, and maybe if you're lucky, you know, then you could get refills to fill them up. But I don't know. The way things are going right now, it wouldn't surprise me. Kind of a digression there, but Halloween Man X, great stuff for fall and winter time at a great price. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some cheap fragrances that just prove that you don't have to spend a fortune to smell amazing. I'll drop links to everything down below because as you know, you're not gonna be able to get these cheap at retail. So I'll link them to discounters. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.